Taylor Schabusiness walked into that Green Bay courtroom on July 26, 2023, with a smile that said she owned the place. At 24 years old, facing life in prison for the murder and dismemberment of Shad Therian, she acted like she was attending a casual hearing she'd easily walk away from. She had no idea what was waiting for her. As Judge Thomas Walsh discussed whether the jury should see the most horrific evidence, photographs of her victim's severed head in a bucket, something incredible happened. Schabusiness didn't show remorse or fear. She didn't break down or beg for mercy. She started laughing. Not nervous laughter, cold, mocking, hysterical laughter that bounced off the courtroom walls like a slap in the face. She threw her head back, eyes gleaming with twisted amusement, laughing at the judge who held her fate, laughing at the family whose son she had butchered. The victim's mother collapsed into sobs while this monster treated their nightmare like entertainment. But what Schabusiness didn't know was that her own confession tape was loaded and ready to play. Every sick detail she had bragged about to police was about to fill that courtroom. Her laughter was about to die in her throat, as her own voice described the unthinkable horror she had committed. The woman who thought she was untouchable was about to learn what real justice looks like. Before we continue this story, don't let Shad Therian's brutal murder fade into silence while his killer laughs at his family's pain. Subscribe now to uncover the shocking truth behind how justice was finally served. Ignore this, and you're letting her win. Subscribe now, unless you're okay with her getting the last laugh. But to understand how Taylor Schabusiness became the laughing monster in that courtroom, we need to go back to February 21st, 2022, the night that would destroy multiple lives forever. Taylor Schabusiness was 24, living a life fueled by chaos and dangerous impulses. Her relationship with Shad Therian wasn't built on love, it was built on risk, drugs, and increasingly reckless behavior that should have been a warning to everyone around them. Shad, also 24, had no idea that the woman he trusted would become his executioner. That Monday evening started like so many others for the troubled couple. Schabusiness picked up Shad from his mother's house on Stony Brook Lane, where he lived peacefully with the woman who adored him. Tara Pakanich watched her son leave with this woman, never knowing she was sending him to his death. It would be the last time she'd see him alive. The couple, along with a mutual friend, made their way to an apartment where they began their descent into chemical oblivion. They smoked cannabis, but that was just the beginning. What happened next would prove that some combinations are deadly, not just physically, but morally. After their friend left, Schabusiness and Therian escalated their drug use to terrifying levels. They smoked methamphetamine, a drug known to strip away inhibitions and amplify violent tendencies. But they didn't stop there. They also injected trazodone, creating a toxic cocktail that would warp judgment and unleash the monster lurking inside Schabusiness. Under the influence of this dangerous combination, they returned to the place that should have been Shad's sanctuary, his mother's house. They crept down to the basement, seeking privacy for what Schabusiness later claimed was consensual intimacy. But drugs don't just impair judgment, they can transform ordinary people into predators. According to Schabusiness's own confession, this wasn't their first time engaging in dangerous sexual practices. She claimed they had previously participated in erotic asphyxiation, using various methods to restrict oxygen flow. On this particular night, metal chains would play a role in what was about to unfold. What happened in that basement, between February 21st and 23rd, would shock even experienced homicide detectives. Schabusiness strangled Shad Therian for what she estimated to be 3 to 5 minutes, long enough to watch the life drain from his eyes, long enough to stop if she had wanted to, long enough to realize what she was doing and choose to continue anyway. But the killing was just the beginning of the horror. For hours, Schabusiness remained alone, with Tyrion's lifeless body in that basement, engaging in acts so depraved that they would later form additional criminal charges. When morning came on February 22nd, she made a decision that would haunt investigators and the victim's family forever. She began the systematic dismemberment of the young man she had just murdered. Using kitchen knives from the house, Schabusiness methodically carved apart Tyrion's remains. She decapitated him over a bucket, washing his blood down the shower drain as if cleaning up after a meal. His organs and body parts were placed into plastic bags, cardboard boxes, and a tote bag, some scattered throughout the basement, others moved to her minivan. But Schabusiness made one critical mistake in her cleanup. She left behind evidence that would lead to the most traumatic discovery in Green Bay's criminal history. The clock was ticking toward 3:25 a.m. on February 23rd, when Tara Pakanich would descend those basement stairs and find something that would shatter her world forever. Tara Pakanich's screams at 3:25 a.m. that February morning would haunt Green Bay forever. But they were nothing compared to the legal nightmare that was about to unfold in Judge Thomas Walsh's courtroom. When Taylor Schabusiness was finally dragged into custody later that day, her clothes soaked in her victim's blood and her arms covered in cuts and scratches, she showed no remorse, no fear, no human emotion whatsoever. Instead, she confessed to everything: the strangling, the hours spent with Tyrion's corpse, the methodical dismemberment that followed. She talked about butchering a human being like she was describing her breakfast.
So then after you realized he was no longer, he was dead, his face was purple, he said his blood's going out of his mouth. What'd you do?
Stop it.
Okay. So then you had sex with him?
Yes. And I had a dildo and everything.
Okay.
And I played with him too.
What'd you do with the dildo?
And I just cuddled on and hugged him.
What'd you do with the dildo?
I put it in his mouth, put it in his ass.
Okay. And what'd you do with the body?
The body's there. Yeah. It's,
So were you going to take the head somewhere?
I like that.
You liked it?
Well, you're going to have fun trying to look for all the organs, but yeah, they're all dismembered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you dismembered the body too?
Yeah.
And what did you do with the body parts?
Oh, they're in the house.
Somewhere?
They're like, yeah.
Basement, upstairs, downstairs?
Absolutely in the basement. I was going to bring them. And then, I know I forgot the head. I wanted the head.
Did you bring anything with you?
Yeah, it's in the van.
What?
It's in the van. It's, what is it? A foot, maybe.
The what?
I think it's a foot.
A foot
leg,
in the van?
a leg, maybe. I don't know. I'm like, I'm going to bring it all. And then I'm like, man, this is messy. So then I just left it. I got lazy.
Okay.
I got lazy, and that's what I did. So I'm like.
The prosecution charged her with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault. Her defense team, desperate to save her from life in prison, entered a plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. They believed her drug use and apparent psychological issues would convince a jury she wasn't responsible for her actions. They had no idea what kind of monster they were trying to defend. The first warning sign came during preliminary hearings, when Schabusiness became so disruptive that court officers had to physically remove her from the proceedings. This wasn't emotional breakdown. This was calculated chaos designed to derail the legal process. But Judge Walsh had seen difficult defendants before, and he wasn't about to let this woman turn his courtroom into a circus. Then came the incident that would define the entire case. During a hearing focused on evidence presentation, prosecutors wanted to introduce photographs of Tyrion's severed head in the bucket where his mother found it. These images were crucial evidence, but horrifically disturbing, leading to intense legal arguments about whether the jury should see them. As Judge Walsh carefully weighed this decision, knowing these photos could traumatize jurors while being essential to proving the case, something unthinkable happened. Schabusiness began laughing. Not nervous laughter or emotional breakdown, cold, calculated, mocking laughter directed at the court's struggle with evidence of her own brutality. She threw her head back and laughed at the judge who held her fate. She laughed at the prosecutors seeking justice. Most sickeningly, she laughed at the family whose son she had carved into pieces. The courtroom erupted. Therian's family members broke down in anguish watching this creature celebrate their nightmare. Court officers tensed, ready to act. Judge Walsh's face flushed with a rage he'd never experienced in decades on the bench. But Schabusiness just kept laughing, feeding off the chaos she was creating. "You think this is funny?" Judge Walsh demanded, his voice cutting through her hysteria. But his words only seemed to fuel her twisted amusement. She was performing for an audience, reveling in the pain she was causing everyone present. But her courtroom antics were just beginning. In the most shocking breach of courtroom security anyone had witnessed, Schabusiness physically attacked her own defense attorney in open court. The assault was so sudden and violent that officers had to tackle her to the ground, restraining her as she continued to thrash and scream. Her own lawyer, the person fighting to save her life, had become another victim of her uncontrollable rage. The incident raised serious questions about her competency to stand trial, but court-appointed experts determined she was legally sane and understood the difference between right and wrong. Her methodical actions after the murder, combined with her coherent confession to police, painted a picture of someone who made deliberate choices rather than acting from mental illness. As the trial progressed, media attention exploded nationwide. Journalists, legal analysts, and true crime followers descended on Green Bay, drawn by the combination of horrific crimes and unprecedented courtroom drama. Schabusiness seemed to thrive on the attention, treating each court appearance like a performance designed to maximize chaos and pain. When the case finally went to the jury on July 26, 2023, the evidence was overwhelming. Despite her defense team's arguments about mental illness and drug-induced impairment, jurors saw through her calculated performance. They found her guilty on all 3 counts, delivering a verdict that represented justice not just for Therian's family, but for everyone who had watched her mock the legal system. The sentencing hearing on September 26, 2023, gave Judge Walsh his final opportunity to address not just her crimes, but her complete contempt for human life and dignity. But before Judge Walsh could deliver her sentence, Schabusiness had one final surprise that would shock even the most experienced court observers. What she did in those final moments before learning her fate would prove that some people are beyond redemption, beyond mercy, and beyond any hope of rehabilitation.
So, Ms. Schabusiness, this is your opportunity to address me. If there's anything on your mind you'd like to say before I pass sentence.
No, there isn't.
Okay. It's the decision of this court and the judgment of the law that Ms. Schabusiness be sentenced as follows. As to in 22 CF 363, count 1, that's the first-degree intentional homicide as a repeater. It's a Class A felony. Going to impose life imprisonment without the possibility of extended supervision. I believe that's appropriate in light of the findings that I've already made. As far as count 2, mutilation of a corpse as a repeater, a Class F felony, I'm going to adopt the recommendation of the pre-sentence investigation writer, 7.5 years of initial confinement followed by 4 years of extended supervision. That'll be consecutive to count 1. As far as count 3, third-degree sexual assault as a repeater, Class G felony, I'm going to impose 3 years of initial confinement followed by 4 years of extended supervision. That will be consecutive to count 2 and count 1. As far as the revocation cases, I'm going to impose 1 year of incarceration on each of those counts. Those will run concurrent.
What drives someone to laugh while discussing evidence of their own brutality? How does a person attack the very lawyer trying to save their life? Taylor Schabusiness's behavior forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about evil itself. Was this calculated manipulation designed to create an insanity defense, or something far more disturbing, a complete absence of human conscience? Consider the methodical way she dismembered Therion, then her chaotic courtroom outbursts. Which version was real? The calculating killer who covered her tracks, or the unhinged defendant destroying her own case? Her actions challenge everything we know about criminal behavior and courtroom justice. Some defendants break down under pressure, others maintain innocence. But Schabusiness chose a different path, one that left everyone questioning whether true evil can ever be understood. What's your take on her courtroom performance? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more cases exposing the darkest corners of human behavior. Hit that notification bell for our next case that will challenge your understanding of justice. Her courtroom antics revealed evil that challenged everyone's understanding of human behavior. But the questions her case raises about justice and human nature extend far beyond any single courtroom. The Taylor Schabusiness case forces us to confront the most difficult questions about justice and human nature. Her life sentence without parole represents the system's definitive answer: some people are simply too dangerous to ever be released back into society. But the deeper questions remain haunting. How do we reconcile her methodical dismemberment of Therion with her chaotic courtroom behavior? Her confession showed clear awareness of her actions, yet her trial conduct suggested someone completely detached from reality. Was this genuine mental illness masked by calculated manipulation, or pure evil wearing the costume of insanity? The drug cocktail she consumed, methamphetamine and trazodone, can cause severe psychological effects, but millions of people struggle with addiction without becoming killers. Her substance abuse may have lowered inhibitions, but it didn't create the monster that laughed at a grieving mother. Perhaps most disturbing is how she transformed every court appearance into performance art designed to inflict maximum pain. Even facing life in prison, she chose cruelty over remorse, chaos over cooperation. Judge Walsh's words echo the community's sentiment. Her crimes offend human decency, human dignity, and the human community. Some acts are so heinous, they demand society's ultimate response. Justice was served, but the questions about what creates such evil may never be answered. What do you think drove Schabusiness to such extremes? Was this justice, or should mental health have played a larger role? Share your thoughts below and subscribe to explore more cases that challenge our understanding of crime and punishment.